Hawaii Five-0 is an American police procedural drama series produced by CBS Productions and Leonard Freeman. Set in Hawaii, the show originally aired for 12 seasons from 1968 to 1980, and continues in reruns. Jack Lord portrayed Detective Lieutenant Steve McGarrett, the head of a special state police task force which was based on an actual unit that existed under martial law in the 1940s. The theme music composed by Morton Stevens became especially popular. Many episodes would end with McGarrett instructing his subordinate to book him, Danno, sometimes specifying a charge such as murder 1. Overview: the CBS television network produced Hawaii Five-0, which aired from September 20, 1968, to April 4, 1980. The program continues to be broadcast in syndication worldwide. In the U.S., it airs on MeTV, and via on-demand streaming media from CBS Interactive. Created by Leonard Freeman, Hawaii Five-0 was shot on location in Honolulu, Hawaii, and throughout the island of Oahu as well as other Hawaiian islands with occasional filming in other locales such as Los Angeles, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Hawaii Five-0 was named in honor of Hawaii's status as the 50th state. Although the show's name has always ended with the numeral 0, the soundtrack album, released in the late 1960s, used the letter O instead of the numeral 0. The letter O is sometimes used to differentiate the original series and the revival which premiered in 2010, and always uses the numeral 0. The show centers on a fictional state police force led by former U.S. naval officer Steve McGarrett, a detective captain, who was appointed by the governor, Paul Jameson. In the show, McGarrett oversaw state police officers a young officer, Danny Williams, Chin-Ho Kelly, and Kono Kalakaua for seasons 1 through 4. Also, Honolulu Police Department officer Duke Lukla joined the team as a regular, as did Ben Kokua, who replaced Kono beginning with season 5. Occasionally, McGarrett's Five-0 team was assisted by other officers as needed, medical examiner Doc Bergman, forensic specialist Che Fong, and a secretary. The first secretary was May, then Jenny, and later Luana. For 12 seasons, McGarrett and his team hounded international secret agents, criminals, and organized crime syndicates plaguing the Hawaiian Islands. With the aid of District Attorney and later Hawaii's Attorney General John Manicat, McGarrett was successful in sending most of his enemies to prison. One such crime syndicate was led by crime family patriarch Hanor Vashon, a character introduced in the 5th season. Most episodes of Hawaii Five-0 ended with the arrest of criminals and McGarrett snapping, "Book 'em." The offense occasionally was added after this phrase, for example, "Book 'em, murder 1." In many episodes, this was directed to Danny Williams and became McGarrett's catchphrase, "Book 'em, Danno." Other criminals and organized crime bosses on the islands were played by actors such as Ricardo Montalbán, Gavin MacLeod, and Ross Martin as Tony Alica. By the 12th and final season, series regular James MacArthur had left the show, as had Cam Fong. Unlike other characters before him, Fong's character, Chin-Ho, at Fong's request, did not just vanish from the show but instead was murdered while working undercover to expose a protection ring in Chinatown in the last episode of season 10. New characters Jim Kiyomokaru, Laurie Wilson, and Shrug were introduced in season 12 alongside returning regular character Duke Lukla. The Five-0 team consisted of 3 to 5 members, and was portrayed as occupying a suite of offices in the Iolani Palace. The office interiors were sets on a soundstage. Five-0 lacked its own radio network, necessitating frequent requests by McGarrett to the Honolulu Police Department dispatchers, "Patch me through to Danno." McGarrett's tousled yet immaculate hairstyle, as well as his proclivity for wearing a dark suit and tie on all possible occasions, rapidly entered popular culture. While the other members of Five-0 also dressed mainland much of the time, they also often wore local styles, such as the ubiquitous Aloha shirt. In many episodes, McGarrett was drawn into the world of international espionage and national intelligence. McGarrett's nemesis was a rogue intelligence officer of the People's Republic of China named Ofat. The communist rogue agent was played by veteran actor Kaya Dai. The show's final episode in 1980 was titled Woe to Ofat, in which McGarrett finally saw his foe go to jail. This television show's action and straightforward storytelling left little time for personal stories involving wives or girlfriends. There were two-part story in the first season dealt with the loss of McGarrett's sister's baby. Occasionally, a show would flash back to McGarrett's younger years or to a romantic figure. The viewer was left with the impression that McGarrett, at that point in his life, much like Dragnet's Joe Friday, was wedded to the police force and to crime fighting. The altruistic teetotaler McGarrett often worked very late at the office, long after his colleagues had gone home, and he also worked a lot of weekends. In the episode number 1 with a Bullet, Part 2, McGarrett spat at a criminal, "It was a bastard like you who killed my father." His 42-year-old father had been run down and killed by someone who had just held up a supermarket. Since Steve McGarrett was also a commander in the Naval Reserve, he sometimes used their resources to help investigate and solve crimes. Hence the closing credits of some episodes mentioned the Naval Reserve. A 1975 episode involving Danno's aunt, played by MacArthur's adoptive mother Helen Hayes, provided a bit of Williams's backstory. Hawaii Five-0 would use actual phone numbers instead of the fictional 555 exchange for the first half of the series run. In the 1969 episode, Blind Tiger, McGarrett, who had been temporarily blinded by an attempt on his life, asked a hospital operator to connect him to 732-5577, which was the phone number at 5-0 headquarters. Throughout the series, McGarrett and his 5-0 team often refer to Hawaii as the Rock. Hawaii Five-0 survived long enough to overlap with reruns of early episodes, which were broadcast by CBS in their late-night schedule while new episodes were still being produced. Once the program entered syndication after the original run of the series, CBS broadcast reruns of the 12th season in late night under the title McGarrett to avoid confusion with the episodes in syndication broadcast under the title Hawaii Five-0. Creation of the show, sources differ on how the show came to be. Producer Leonard Freeman moved to Hawaii to recuperate after suffering a heart attack. One source states the idea for the show may have come from a conversation Freeman had with Hawaii's then-Governor John A. Burns. Another source instead claims that Freeman wanted to set a show in San Pedro, California until his friend Richard Boone convinced him to shoot it entirely in Hawaii. A third source claims Freeman discussed the show with Governor Burns only after pitching the idea to CBS. Before settling on the name Hawaii Five-0, Freeman considered titling the show The Man. Casting. Freeman offered Richard Boone the part of McGarrett, but Boone turned it down. Gregory Peck and Robert Brown were also considered. Ultimately, Jack Lord then living in Beverly Hills was asked at the last moment. Lord read for the part on a Wednesday, was cast, and flew to Hawaii 2 days later. On the following Monday, Lord was in front of the cameras. Freeman and Lord had worked together previously on an unsold TV pilot called Grand Hotel. Cam Fong-chun, an 18-year veteran of the Honolulu Police Department, auditioned for the part of the lead villain O-Fat, but Freeman cast him in the part of Chin-Ho Kelly instead. Freeman took the name O-Fat from a restaurant in downtown Honolulu. The name Chin-Ho came from Chin-Ho, the owner of the Ilaikai Hotel where the penthouse shot of Steve McGarrett in the opening title sequence was taken. Richard Denning, who played the governor, had retired to Hawaii and came out of retirement for the show. Zulu was a Waikiki beach boy and local DJ when he was cast for the part of Kono, which he played for the next 4 years. Production. The first season was shot in a rusty military Quonset hut in Pearl City, which the various cast members quickly nicknamed Mongoose Manor. The roof tended to leak, and rats would often gnaw at the cables. The show then moved to a Fort Ruger location for seasons 2 to 8. A third studio was built at Diamond Head, and was used during the last 4 seasons. A problem from the beginning was the lack of a movie industry in Hawaii. Much of the crew and cast, including many locals who ended up participating in the show, had to learn their respective jobs as they went along. Jack Lord was known as a perfectionist who insisted on the best from everyone. His temper fled when he felt that others did not give their best, but in later reunions they admitted that Lord's hard driving force had made them better actors and made Hawaii Five-0 a better show. Lord's high standards also helped the show last another 7 years after Leonard Freeman's death from heart trouble during the 6th season. To critics and viewers, there was no question that Jack Lord was the center of the show, and that the other actors frequently served as little more than props, standing and watching while McGarrett emoted and paced around his office, analyzing the crime. But occasionally episodes would focus on the other actors, and let them showcase their own talents, such as Danno defusing bombs in The Clock Struck 12. Since Jack Lord had a financial interest in the show, he referred to other regular cast actors in the program as a with, as in with James MacArthur. They were never called co-stars. Very few episodes were shot outside of Hawaii. At least 2 episodes were shot in Los Angeles, 1 in Hong Kong, and 1 in Singapore. Episodes shot in these locations were the only ones not to bear the filmed entirely on location in Hawaii legend. Credits: the opening title sequence was created by noted television director Reza Esbudai. Early shows began with a cold open suggesting the sinister plot for that program, then cut to a shot of a big ocean wave and the start of the theme song. A fast zoom into the top balcony of the Alaikai Hotel followed, showing McGarrett turning to face the camera, followed by many quick cuts and freeze frames of Hawaiian scenery, and Hawaiian Chinese Caucasian model Elizabeth Malamalamorkalani Log turning to face the camera. A grass-skirted hula dancer from the pilot episode was also included, played by Helen Kaur-Torko, who later became a professor of business technology at Windward Community College. The opening scene ended with shots of the supporting players, and the flashing blue light of a police motorcycle racing through a Honolulu street. At the conclusion of each episode, Jack Lord narrated a teaser for the next episode, often emphasizing the guest villain, especially if the villain is a recurring character, such as that played by actor Hume Cronin. The line he spoke was, "This is Jack Lord inviting you to be with us next week for name of episode, and then, be here. Aloha." The teasers were removed from the syndicated episodes but most have been restored in DVD releases from the 2nd season onward. Most of the teasers are slightly edited to remove references to next week. This tradition has been continued in the 2010 version of Hawaii Five-0, but is not limited to Alex Ililin. All of the primary cast members take turns with the iconic "Be Here. Aloha" line at the end of the previous segment. There were 2 versions of the closing credits portion of the show. During the first season, the theme music was played over a short film of a flashing blue light attached to the rear of a police motorcycle in Waikiki heading west. In later seasons, the same music was played over film of outrigger canoeists battling the surf. In a 2010 issue of TV Guide, the show's opening title sequence ranked number 4 on a list of TV's top 10 credits sequences, as selected by readers. Legacy: the show was the longest-running crime show on American television until Law & Order surpassed it in 2003 and was the first to enjoy an uninterrupted run that exceeded a decade. When the show premiered in 1968, Hawaii had only been a state for 9 years and was relatively obscure to Americans who had never served in the Pacific Theater. But as a geographic part of Polynesia, it had an exotic image. Known for the location, theme song, and ensemble cast, Hawaii Five-0 is also noted for its liberal use of exterior location shooting throughout the entire 12 seasons. A typical episode, on average, would have at least 2/3 of all footage shot on location, as opposed to a typical show of the time which would be shot largely on sound stages and backlots. It is also remembered for its unusual setting, notable during a time when most crime dramas of the era were set in or around the Los Angeles or New York City areas. The Hawaiian-based television show Magnum, P.I. was created after Hawaii Five-0 ended its run, in order to make further use of the expensive production facilities created there for Five-0. The first few Magnum P.I. episodes made direct references to Five-0, suggesting that it takes place in the same fictional setting. Magnum's producers made a few attempts to coax Jack Lord out of retirement for a cameo appearance, but he refused. The vast majority of characters in the show were white Americans, whereas only 40% of the population of the state identified themselves as such. Many local people were cast in the show, which was ethnically diverse by the standards of the late 1960s. The first run in syndication was seen by an estimated 400 million people around the world. A one-hour pilot for a new series was made in 1996 but never aired. Produced and written by Stephen J. Cannell, it starred Gary Busey and Russell Wong as the new 5-0 team. James MacArthur returned as Dan Williams, having become governor of Hawaii. Several cameos were made by other 5-0 regulars, including Cam Fong as Chin-Ho Kelly. The one-hour pilot for a revived show, called Hawaii 5-0, aired September 20, 2010, on CBS, and as of October 2013, the series now airs Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. The remake version Hawaii 5-0 uses the same principal character names as the original, and the new Steve McGarrett's late father's vintage 1974 Mercury Marquis is the actual specimen driven by Lord in the original series' final seasons. The new series opening credit sequence is an homage to the original. The theme song is cut in half, from 60 to 30 seconds, but is an otherwise identical instrumentation. Most of the iconic shots are replicated, beginning with the helicopter approach and close-up turn of McGarrett at the Alaikai Hotel penthouse, the jet engine intake, a hula dancer's hips, the quickly stepped zoom into the face of the Lady Columbia statue at Punch Bowl, the close-up of the Kamehameha statue's face, and the ending with a police motorcycle's flashing blue light. On the March 19, 2012 episode, Ed Asner reprised his role as August March, a character he first played in a 1975 episode. Clips from the 1975 episode were included in the new one, even though the 2010 series is clearly intended to be in a different narrative universe than the Jack Lord series. Theme music. Another legacy of the show is the popularity of the Hawaii 5-0 theme music. The tune was composed by Morton Stevens, who also composed numerous episode scores. The theme was recorded by The Ventures, whose version reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 pop chart, and is particularly popular with college and high school marching bands, especially at the University of Hawaii where it has become the unofficial fight song. The tune has also been heard at Robertson Stadium after Houston Dynamo goals scored by Brian Ching, a native of Hawaii. Because of the tempo of the music, the theme gained popularity in the UK with followers of Northern Soul and was popular on dance floors in the 1970s. Although the theme is most widely known as an instrumental, it has been released with at least 2 similar but different sets of lyrics. The first, You Can Come With Me by Don Ho, opens with an instrumental in the familiar tempo, then settles into a ballad style for the sung portion. The second, by Sammy Davis, Jr., titled You Can Count on Me, maintains the driving style of the original instrumental throughout. Australian proto-punk band Radio Birdman borrowed heavily from the program and its theme for their 1977 single Aloha. Steve and Danno, later included on selected versions of the album Radios Appear. Band leader Dennis Tech, who grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan during the heyday of MC5 and the Stooges, commented that he found Sydney of the early 1970s to be a rather quiet and staid place in comparison, and that airings of the program were a weekly highlight. The song was written after the band members realized they were spending a lot of evenings watching the program. The lyrics of the song's verses consist entirely of references to storylines of the early episodes. The chorus alludes to the boredom which band members experienced when the program wasn't on. The song's guitar solos and other elements of the music were directly derivative of the program's theme. Stevens received a writing credit on the song as a result. In the Australian movie The Dish, the theme was mistaken for the national anthem of the US by a local band upon the visit of the US ambassador to Parks, NSW, to commemorate the 1969 moon landing. Darts player Wayne Mardell used the song as his walk-on song. Slang term for police, the phrase 5-0 has come to refer to the police in the United States. Episodes. Withheld episode, Bored, She Hung Herself, the 16th episode of the second season, depicted a 5-0 investigation into the apparent suicide of a woman by hanging, which she was supposedly practicing as part of a health regimen. A viewer reportedly died trying the same technique, and as a result, the show was not rebroadcast, was never included in any syndication packages, and has not been included on any DVD release of the show to date. Broadcast history: September 1968 to December 1968, Thursdays at 8 p.m., December 1968 to March 1971, Wednesdays at 10 p.m., September 1971 to February 1974, Tuesdays at 8 p.m., September 1974 to March 1975, Tuesdays at 9 p.m., September 1975 to November 1975, Fridays at 9 p.m., December 1975 to November 1979, Thursdays at 9 p.m., December 1979 to January 1980, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. March 1980 to April 1980, Saturdays at 9 p.m. Ratings: Emmys. The show was nominated for the following Emmy Awards throughout its run: 1969, Outstanding Cinematography, Frank Phillips, Uptight; Outstanding Musical Composition, Morton Stevens, The Pilot; 1970, Outstanding Musical Composition, Morton Stevens, A Thousand Pardons, You're Dead; 1971, Outstanding Film Editing, Arthur David Hilton, Over 50; Steel, Outstanding Directing, Bob Sweeney, Over 50; Steel, 1972, Outstanding Cinematography, Robert L. Morrison; 1973, Outstanding Drama Series, Leonard Freeman, Executive Producer; Bob Sweeney, Supervising Producer; William Finnegan, Producer; 1974, Best Cinematography, Robert Morrison, Jack Whitman and Bill Huffman; Best Music Composition a Euroseries, Morton Stevens; Hookman, Best Music Composition a Euroseries, Don B. Ray; Nightmare in Blue, Best Music Composition a Euroseries, Bruce Broughton; The $100,000 Nickel, 1976, Outstanding Actress, Single Performance Drama or Comedy Series, Helen Hayes, Retire in Sunny Hawaii. Forever, remakes. In 1997, CBS ordered a pilot for a revived version of the series. It included James MacArthur reprising his role as Danny Williams, who had become the governor of Hawaii. The series was not picked up. On May 19, 2010, CBS announced that a new reimagined version of Hawaii Five-0, this one set in present-day Hawaii and called Hawaii Five-0 with the last character as zero instead of a capital letter, would join the network's 2010-2011 fall lineup. The updated version stars Alex O'Lin as Lieutenant Commander Steve McGarrett, Scott Kahn as Detective Sergeant Danno Williams, Daniel Dye Kim as Detective Lieutenant Chin Ho Kelly and Grace Park as Officer Kono Kalakua. It premiered on CBS on Monday, September 20, 2010. Cast: Detective Captain Steve McGarrett, played by Jack Lord; Detective Danno Williams, played by James MacArthur; Detective Kono Kalakua, played by Zulu; Detective SGT, S1 S2, and Lieutenant Chin Ho Kelly, played by Cam Fong; Detective Frank Kamana, played by Doug Mossman; Attorney General John Manicat, played by Glenn Cannon; HPD/5-0 Sergeant Nick Kellogg, played by Danny Kamekuna; Ben Kokua, played by Al Harrington; Duke Lukla, played by Herman Ademia; Governor Paul Jameson, played by Richard Denning; James Carew, played by William Smith; Truck Keeler, played by Mo Keel; Sandy Wells, played by Amanda McBroom; Laurie Wilson, played by Sharon Farrell; May, played by Maggie Parker; Mitzi Hogan the pilot; Jenny Sherman, played by Peggy Ryan; other original first-season characters portrayed by Nancy Kwan, Leslie Nielsen and Andrew Duggan; recurring characters: O-Fat, played by Kaya Tie in the pilot, and occasionally throughout the series, including the final episode. Che Fong, played by Harry Endo; Joey Lee, played by Brian Tokai; Doc Bergman, played by Al Eben; Lieutenant Keeler and Leela, played by Douglas Mossman; Jonathan Kay, played by James Gregory; Joseph Sorolla, Bill Edwards, and Lal Betka, Doc, played by Newell Tarrant, and Robert Brilliant and Ted Thorpe, and Robert Costa; Che Fong, played by Danny Kamekuna; Lana, played by Laura Sode; Attorney General Walter Stewart, played by Morgan White; Mildred, played by Peggy Ryan; Mrs. Pruitt, played by Hilo Hattie. Dr. Grant Ormsby, played by Pat Hingle. Streaming media, CBS Interactive had presented the entire first season of the show online via Adobe Flash streaming media. As of September 2009, selected episodes are available at CBS.com. These are full-length episodes available free of charge, but with ads embedded into the stream of each episode. Netflix also streams complete episodes without advertisements. The episodes can be viewed on computers as well as the Wii, Xbox 360 consoles, TiVo boxes, and on mobile phones including the iPhone and Android phones through an application download. Episodes that are streamed on Netflix have been fully remastered in high definition. DVD releases. CBS DVD has released all 12 seasons on DVD in Region 1. The first 8 seasons have been released in Region 2 and Region 4. Note: the Season 2 episode Bored, She Hung Herself is not included in the second season set. The omission is mentioned on the back of the box. Only some Australian bootlegs have had the episode. Seasons 2 and Euro 8 contain episode promos by Jack Lord. On December 3, 2013, Paramount released Hawaii Five-0, the complete series on DVD in Region 1. Other media: a soundtrack album featuring Morton Stevens' theme and incidental music was issued by Capitol Records in 1970. One of the instrumental pieces on the album, Call to Danger, was excerpted as background music accompanying a special presentation logo that CBS used to introduce its primetime television specials throughout the 1970s and 1980s. The album was reissued on compact disc by Film Score Monthly in 2010. Hawaii Five-0, Call to Danger, McGarrett's theme, Front Street, The Long Wait, Blues Trip, The Floater, Interlude, Operation Smash, Beach Trip, Uptight, The Chase. Hawaii Five-0 was the subject of 6 novelizations. Each one had a plotline written for the book and was not based on a television episode. The first 2 books were published by Signet Paperbacks in 1968 and 1969. After that were 2 juvenile hardcovers published by Whitman Publishing in 1969 and 1971, and finally 2 more books were published in England. References. External links: official website, Hawaii Five-0 homepage, Hawaii Five-0 theme song and opening sequence on YouTube, Hawaii Five-0 at the Internet Movie Database, Hawaii Five-0 at TV.com, Hawaii Five-0 selected first season episodes at CBS.com, Hawaii Five-0 episode guide at TV Favorites, Jack Lord and Hawaii Five-0 website, Hawaii Five-0 FAQs.